Welcome to another edition of Brews and Cruise. I am your host, Chris Jacobson, and today we have a guest who is a bartender. And he's not only just that, but he's going to make us our first drink live on the podcast. Alex Garrett, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Should I put that closer to you?
Sure.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So we are going to, this was your request. We're going to make, or you're going to make, and I'm going to watch Old Fashions.
Yeah.
And you 10 bar here in town, and this is in Winona, Minnesota, guys. So for those who don't know, we are based in Winona, but you 10 bar, and you said, I would like to make Old Fashions, and I said, no better place to do that than here on the cast.
For sure.
So we are going to make, you're going to make Old Fashions for us, but you came up with a specific list of a bourbon that I'm supposed to get, which is Bullet Bourbon. We have not had that yet on the cast,
Sure.
And I have just had that recently on the cruise I was on. So if you guys watch back last week's episode, you'll notice I was on a cruise ship, took the show on the road, and I had a lot of Bullet Bourbon on the rocks, and it was very, very good. And then you had me grab some other things, but what I'm going to first have you do is just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and then we'll get moving.
Yeah, right on. So my name is Alex, and like he said, I bartend here in town at the High and Low Bar. I've been working there for like 2.5 years, and I absolutely love it. I like making drinks. I like meeting people. It's great networking. Like Chris, I'm in real estate as well. Chris is with his own broker, but I'm with Keller Williams here in town. So that's another thing that we have in common.
Yep.
And my love of bartending kind of started back when I was working at the Green Mill restaurant. Chris is wearing the polo from 2003, back when he was working there too. So we both worked there at one point in time. But I used to manage that restaurant, and so I learned a lot about bartending, managing restaurants, serving, the hospitality industry, food service, all that stuff. But now I work full-time as a carpenter, so I kind of left that in the dust. And so now I do carpentry full-time, and my wife and I, we do real estate on the side.
Nice.
And then just for some extra cash and some extra networking, I bartend at the High and Low.
Well, yeah, bartending is never a bad thing for networking because you're going to meet however many people in a night. And you never know who's looking for a house or looking for a remodel or whatever it might be. So I'm going to let you get to making.
Yeah.
And I'll just start talking while you make. And I'll pull this mic out for you. And you can just talk loud if you want. Just watch your foot there on the cord.
Got it. Yeah, one disclaimer, we're making these without like a sweetener, so no sugar, no like sugar water. And we're making these without oranges. But usually if I'm making them at the High and Low, it's with the oranges and with the sugar.
Sure.
But we'll get going without them.
Yeah, and while he's making that, I'm going to just talk a little bit background here. So Alex just said he worked at the Green Mill here in Winona. I am wearing the Green Mill shirt from when I worked there in 2003. And I didn't know if I'd ever have a time or place to wear this, but they gave it to me. And this actually used to be the old bartending shirt that they had when they were there. So they've changed, but we don't have a Green Mill anymore. Now it's called River City Grill.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story, too. During the pandemic, that went away.
Yeah.
But Alex and I, we actually, the way I recall us meeting was I kept coming into Green Mill, and we just said hi to each other. And eventually, we started playing basketball against each other.
At the low tables right by the big screen TV, and I always knew, it was going to be pizza and wings for you guys. Every time you guys came in, pizza and wings.
Well, you guys used to have that pizza and wing special on, I want to say it was Sundays. It was like large Pescara pizza.
Yep.
Wings, boneless, for $19.99.
Yep, $21.46 after tax.
You remember that?
That was my pitch, too.
Yeah.
They would always ask.
You couldn't even get a pizza hardly for $20 anymore,
Not
let
anymore.
alone wings and pizza.
No, I mean, I think they have their Sunday buffet going again. It's like, I think they started it at $18.99.
Yeah.
Just for the buffet on Sundays. I think they lowered it now, but
I think it used to be $9.99.
I think so too for seniors. When I left, it was $13.99 for adults, $9.99 for seniors, and $4.99 for kids.
Nice.
But then they closed that down for probably 3 years, trying to recover from the pandemic.
Sure. Yeah, so, I mean, buffets.
Good to see that they're finally back open.
Yeah, so it used to be the Green Mill, and during the pandemic era, as most of you know, a lot of businesses were hit pretty hard. And the Green Mill was probably one of those that just so happened. But now it turned into what's called River City Grill in town. So if you know what River City Grill is, you know it's the same place, but a little bit different food. I enjoyed the Green Mill. That was always my favorite place to go. And we got little balls of ice.
These are really cute. These come out of your freezer?
Yeah.
Little balls.
They're cute. I hate when someone calls my icy balls cute. But yeah.
They are, though.
So when you're making these now,
Oops.
how do you gauge what each portion is? Because when I see a drink, it says you need to have this amount, and this amount, and you don't have any measuring here.
Yeah.
Is it just eyeballing?
So most of the time, like, most of the bars I work at, each bottle, so for example, this bottle,
Yep.
we take the cap and we throw it right away.
Okay.
Something like this, usually we'll just leave the cap and measure it out.
Oh, yeah.
There.
There you go.
But sometimes they have like measured stoppers.
Okay.
And so it's like usually a 4-second count or something like that. And it pours it out. And then when it hits that 1.5 ounces or 1 ounces,
Sure.
then it just shuts off.
Okay.
So that makes it really easy to measure. Otherwise, after years of experience, you can usually eyeball it.
Yep.
And some drinks, like an old fashioned, I usually put a little drop extra or whatever. But yeah, I've gotten pretty good at eyeballing it. Otherwise, we have a 2-sided jig. One side is 1 ounce, one side's an ounce and a half.
Sure.
And so you can use that to measure it too.
Okay. Now, what was the first process you were doing on this?
Yeah, I'll walk you through it. So
Yeah.
how I make them, and like I said, we're missing the sugar, we're missing the oranges. So that would usually go in first. So what I like to do is I'll put the cherries and the oranges, the sugar, the bitters, and then I put just a drop of club soda in the very bottom.
Okay.
Okay, and then what I'm using is just a plastic spoon. But typically you use a muddler.
Yep.
It's a probably 8-inch piece with a grooved bottom, and that smashes the fruit up and brings the flavor out of the fruit.
Sure.
And once that's all mashed together with a little bit of club soda, a little bit of bitters, a little bit of orange sugar, and the cherries, that kind of makes your flavor blend in the bottom.
Gotcha.
And then what I'm about to do now, question for you, do you like them more sweet or a little more alcohol tasting?
I would say probably more sweet.
A little more sweet.
Yep.
So typically what I'll do for that is I'll do half club soda, half Sprite to finish it out.
Sure.
After the alcohol, obviously.
Okay.
If somebody likes it real sweet, then I'll just do straight Sprite, you
Okay.
know. But if they like it, if they're a stand-up guy and they like it just tasting like a true old-fashioned, I'll do pretty much all club soda, maybe a splash of Sprite.
Oh,
at the
okay.
end.
Gotcha.
So I kind of play it. And one thing that I've learned with bartending too is that every customer is a little different, you know. You get some guys who want that super sweet, and then you got some guys who want it to be a double shot with very little club soda. You know,
Okay.
so you ask the people how they want it, and you kind of get to know your clients and what they like too.
Sure.
So if you can make the same drink for somebody over and over and over, and it's absolutely perfect, even if it's not like exactly the recipe, but they love it, that's all that matters.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, I'm kind of the one that's like a little bit in between. I don't want too much alcohol, but I don't want too sweet. I want to taste a little bit of both.
Sure.
So we got the Bullet bourbon.
Yeah, Bullet Rye is what we're using.
Bullet Rye. It's the green label if anybody's in the store. Why? What is this a particular bourbon that you think is just really good with old fashions, or was there a reason for it?
I just really like Bullet. I mean, I mix and match them. A lot of people use other bourbons like Maker's Mark, or I've done them with like Jameson, or even just like straight up with Jack Daniels, you know, whiskey.
Yeah.
But I like the Bullet. It's a little higher quality. It's got a nicer, smoother taste, and I fell in love with it kind of when I was at the restaurant at Green Mill.
Oh, gotcha.
So I've kind of been, whenever it comes to old fashions, or anytime anybody asks, like, what do you recommend for bourbon? What good whiskeys, bourbons do you have? I always go straight to the Bullet.
Sure.
So
Yeah, this was always I think this was my grandma's favorite drink, was an old fashioned.
sure.
That's what my mom always told me. I'm like, yeah, that probably makes sense why I like them. But I do like them, especially when you muddle everything and it does bring those flavors to the top. They are really, really good. Down at Two Brothers, I've had them. They're pretty good there too in town.
Have you been there much?
Two Brothers?
Yeah.
I've been there, I would say at least probably a dozen times since they've opened.
Okay.
It's been a fun place.
Sure.
The other place in town is called Muddled Time.
Yep.
So they must do a lot of handcrafted type drinks like this.
Yeah, Muddled Time, we've been there a few times, usually for like when family comes into town.
Sure.
Because it's a nicer setting, and they got really good food. Like you say, it's all custom. Like they got that, I think they imported a wood-fired oven from Italy or something like that, so the pizza is like super good. The drinks are super good. The service is like really, really good. We've been there several times and never had a bad experience.
Sure.
So,
That makes it it's a really nice place. It's almost like a hole in the wall, though. Like if you drove by, you wouldn't even know you passed it probably.
right.
Damn, these look good.
And they're all done.
And they're all done.
So a couple straws. And with the old fashions, usually with a mixed drink, you'll drink it through the straw, right?
Yep.
But these straws are basically here just to kind of stir that flavor around.
Sure.
And you want to drink it from the top.
Yep.
Just sip it right out of the glass.
Now the one
that
thing
is good to go. Here, get a good
nice
picture of how that looks.
That looks really nice in the light.
Yeah, and picture like a little orange peel in there too.
Yep.
With a normal one. But there you go, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. We'll cheers these bad boys.
Yeah. Get the ice out of here.
We'll get the ice out of the way. I had to get a full bar set up for Alex today.
Yeah.
The professional. If we need more, we got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, at 9:15 in the morning, one might be enough. But cheers, buddy.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Dude, you did the perfect, what I like.
Yeah.
I can taste a little bit of the alcohol, and I can taste a little bit of everything else. Now, the other thing you have here, aromatic bitters, is that what they're called?
Yep.
What does this do? Like, what are these? I've always heard of it, but I don't know what that means.
Do this. Take the lid off.
Yep.
And just put a little bit under your thumb.
Like
Just like it. Well, yeah, you could just do it that way. Otherwise, it shakes out. If you turn it upside down, it won't
Sure.
come out. Just put a little bit on your thumb and taste it. So it kind of gives it that kind of, it's a unique taste.
Ooh, yeah. That's that taste I always get then. Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like the sugar or something.
Yeah. So pretty much old fashions, and there's a few other drinks that you use bitters with.
Sure.
But it just kind of adds that unique taste. A lot of times too, and shout out Neil McCall because he kind of gave me this recipe, but
Good old Neil.
he came up with this drink for whenever you're feeling a little sick. He'll do like, I don't even remember what it is, but I think it's like he'll fill it with club soda, put a splash of cranberry, and then drop some bitters into it.
Oh, sure.
And that like flavor profile just really clears you up.
Well, someone always says have a hot toddy if you're not feeling good. I
Yeah,
don't know
hot toddies are great too. And I make those differently, but I think they usually have bitters in those too. It's usually hot water and honey and whiskey.
Yeah. Yep.
And you might be able to drop some bitters in there too. I'm not sure.
All right. So going back off of your bartending days, got a question. Do you have any good or funny stories or anything maybe you had to kick someone out?
Several times. I mean,
Several. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get a story out of this, but
No,
let's hear this.
it's not like one story. It's kind of just like an attitude that you have to have as a
Sure.
bartender. I've learned when I started out as bartending, I was super nice to everybody, and I was gun shy whenever somebody was getting a little tipsy to cut them off. Mm-hmm. But overdoing it for so many years and being in the restaurant industry for so long, it's like when somebody's getting there, you say, have you ever seen Moneyball, the movie?
Yep.
Okay. You know the scene where he's like delegating the cutting of a player
Sure.
to Jonah
Yep.
Hill? He's just like, you just got to be like, you've been traded, and that's it. Here's the paperwork.
So it's got to be very cut, dry,
cutthroat,
blunt.
cutthroat.
Yep.
Like for example, I was at the bar last night, bar backing for the Bus Boys, who play live music at the High and Low every like couple months. You should stop by if you haven't. There was a guy last night, and me and Neil were tag teaming it, and I could tell. I mean, he threw his credit card over the bar and walked behind it, fell over trying to pick it up. And I look at Neil and I say, "We're not serving him anymore." And he was like, "Okay, but you're telling him." And I was like, "No problem." So I walk up to him. I was like, "Hey, listen, guy, we're not serving you anymore, and that's it. So you can finish that beer, and you got to head out." And that was it.
And he pushed back?
He took a second, and he was like, shocked. He was
Yep.
like, "Me? Why?" I was like, "You just fell over. You just threw your credit card. You spilled your drink,
Yeah.
and we're not serving you anymore.
Sure.
Point blank. Finish your drink and get out of here." And he did. So, point is, when I started, I was super soft, and I'd be like, "Hey, man, you've kind of had a few. Like, are you feeling okay? Can I get you water?" But not anymore. I'm just a little more cutthroat now. I'm just like, you're done. You're drunk. I can see it, and I don't want to deal with it.
Well,
So-
I feel like when you're new, obviously, like, I don't know how to cut someone off. How do I do that in a polite manner? But you probably realize the next day they're not going to remember that anyways.
No,
You'd be
most
like-
of them don't.
Yeah, no kidding. So you just
Most of them come in and apologize.
That's
at
good.
At the end of it, when you're cutthroat like that, they see that you're a little agitated by it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go home and they're thinking, "Oh shit, I threw my credit card over the bar. I
Yeah.
spilled my drink."
And
He was
really-
in the right.
And really, they look like the ass anyways. It's
Right.
not you.
Yeah.
You're just trying, well, for one, you're cutting him off so nothing happens to the bar. 2, so nobody else gets injured. And 3, so they don't kill themselves.
Right.
Because who knows if they're going to get behind the wheel of a car, or maybe they got a lift, or maybe they got someone coming to give them a ride. But yeah, I was always wondering, like, how do you deal with that? Because You know, you go to a college bar, you have these young little girls kind of back there. I always wonder how they deal with it. You're a decent sized guy. I mean, you're bigger than me, and I'd be like, okay, sorry, man, I'm done. I'm good. Yep, not a problem. I've been eating ass to myself. But I always wonder, like, at the college bars, because some of those kids get nuts. And I've seen them out there because they're hooting and hollering, walking down the street, hitting signs and all kinds of things. I always wonder how the young girls are, like, trying to deal with that. I'll put your mic back to you.
Sure.
I don't think the cord will come out this time.
I hope not.
Yeah, we got these technical difficulties.
I think a lot of those college bars in this town are kind of more downtown.
Yep.
You know, thinking like, you know, Port 507, they're right downtown, and Lucky's, Mulligan's, Two Brothers, they're all kind of in that area. And there's a lot of like police down there, and so they probably lean on that a little bit for protection.
Sure.
But out where I work, I mean, Winona has a lot of towny bars.
Yep.
You know, little holes in the wall where it's like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. You know.
Is that what you would consider high and low?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely a hole in the wall, small town.
Yep.
Kind of a, I don't want to say custom bar, but it definitely has its unique group of people who come repeatedly all the time. And that's kind of the crowd that we get. So when it comes to like kicking people out and everything, we don't call the police. We don't really get police involved unless there's like a couple weeks ago there was a fight that broke out and we had to call the police. But like when it comes to kicking people out, I've never had a problem being, I'm a bigger guy.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I just kick them out, and I think with downtown they probably like there's police going around and they'll say, you want me to call the police, stuff like that. I don't know, but I've never had a problem.
Do you have any now going off of that? Do you have any fun ones? Like, have you met someone that was so interesting, or even a famous person maybe walked in? Anything good, even if it was at the Green Mill back in the day?
I met a guy. So when I was at River City, we'd get travelers all the time.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering because I go in there quite often, and it seems like you go there and it's the same people on the same days. So like I was in there on a Tuesday about a month ago or so, and I'm like, see all these guys there, and then they all start making conversation with me, and some of them are traveling, like you said. So it's kind of wondering maybe someone came on through.
So at River City, we get a lot of like corporate travelers during the week when I was there. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it'd be pretty much, a lot of people from Fastenal, RTP, the big corporations in town here. They would stay at the hotels, come down, and a lot of them have really good relationships with Derek Mim, who is the lead bartender over there.
He's always there.
Always there.
Very good bartender too.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what I want.
Yep, pretty much. Before you walk in.
Yep.
One of my best friends. He was a usher in my wedding. Him and Neil were the ushers in our wedding.
Cool.
Yeah. But so you get to know some of the bigger names out in those bigger companies. They come in and they visit with you for a while. But then also, like, you get kind of random people who are in town for random reasons. For example, at the High and Low, probably 6 months ago, I got a guy, John Kennard, came in, and he is an F1 race car instructor.
Oh, jeez.
And he was traveling from, I think he was from the East Coast, and he was traveling to Seattle and just kind of making his way there. He had like a week to get there, so he just drove and made several stops along the way. So he stopped at the High and Low, and I got to talking to him, and I mean, just the stuff that he was telling me about who he knows and the cars that he's driven and his training, and then we got to talking about real estate and real estate investing and stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, he's definitely, F1 race car driver. That's a pretty cool title to have. And that's not something that you'll find from anybody in Winona.
Was he going out to a race or something?
He was going out to train people out in Seattle.
Oh, cool.
How to drive F1 race cars.
I would not have thought Seattle would be a place to go to.
Me neither. But apparently he travels all over the nation doing it. And he's from the East Coast, and I still text him to this day.
Oh, really? How long ago was that?
6 months.
Oh, 6 months
ago.
Well,
yeah,
cool.
I got his number because he was thinking about investing in town here.
Sure.
And so I was like, well, text me if you have any questions. He really fell in love with the town,
Was he here for a couple days?
He was here for 2 nights.
2 nights. How did you find the High and Low?
Probably recommendation.
Sure.
Somebody at the hotel he was staying at was probably like, hey, here's a list of bars, here's a list of fun things to do. And
yeah, my wife likes that place.
Yeah.
It's just more people our age.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind going to a college bar here and there, but if you know me, I'm going to a brewery most likely.
Yeah. and if you know me, I'm going to a place where I can drink a $1.75 beer and the bar is completely empty.
Yeah.
And there's sports on the TV and it kind of smells like smoke. That's kind of like my type of bar.
That is your hole-in-the-wall bar in the Midwest.
That's why I love the High and Low.
Yep. So let's go off of your next thing now, because a lot of our endeavors are very similar. We started working at the Green Mill. me before you, but that's okay. Age difference.
Yeah.
But now,
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 36.
36. I'm 25. So
Dude,
a little gap between us.
I wouldn't have never thought of that one bit because
What,
you
that-
just look a little older. And
Yeah, it's
you,
the beard. It's always been the beard.
Yeah,
I've
but
had
you
a-
also act mature. You don't act like a 25-year-old.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess.
So, I mean, I worked there 2002, summer of 2002 to 06 when I left for college. And you worked there, and we now play basketball together. And the reason I met you is not only coming in and just saying hi to you, but then we started playing against each other in men's league basketball. And you had the Green Mill team, black and white jerseys, I remember.
Yep.
And then you're
They're
like,
still out there.
they're still out there?
Yeah.
So is this.
Yeah.
And you asked me, like, hey, it's struggling to get these guys together. You want to form a team? And I was like, yeah, let's work on it next year. And I think COVID hit and we never had anything. And then the following year, I believe, we got a team together. So we've been playing basketball, so we have that in common. But now your newest endeavor is real estate. And you just kind of touched on that a little bit. But now you're into real estate as well. Was there a reason why you had gotten into it?
Kind of two reasons. My parents are up in the cities, and they're both realtors as well. They're with Keller Williams.
Oh, really?
Integrity Northwest. Their office is out of Otsego, which is north of the cities.
Sure.
And that's where I'm from, too. I'm from Buffalo, Minnesota. But I come down here for college in 2016 and just stayed here for a while. So that was the first reason.
Still here.
I'm still here. It's kind of, people call it like the Winona trap. You kind of come here and then you kind of get stuck here figuring things out for a while.
Sure.
I've heard several people in the same situation as me,
Yep.
where they come here for college and then they're like, this ain't so bad. And then they stay for a little extra. So that's kind of where I'm at. But the second reason was I'm a business major too. I graduated from Winona State.
No, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, class of 2020, business administration. And then I got my second degree in construction technology. But when I was a sophomore in college, I rented my first apartment with 3 other guys. And I got into the landlord was Bob Wick. He's with Arrow Apartments here in town. And him and I got into a conversation probably like the first week that we moved in. And I was just talking to him like, so why are you a landlord? Like, why are you, like, what is this all about? Like, he's like, well, this is my retirement. And I said, that kind of caught me off guard. I was like, what do you mean this is retirement? Like, you're getting like a 401k out of this? Or how does that work? He's like, well, no, it's the equity that we're building in these houses and the ability to sell them at the end. He said, I think he has like 8 or 10 properties in town.
Sure.
And so we just got into that conversation of like, we buy these houses, we have a mortgage, but the renters pay it, and the equity that we're building on it, plus the improvements that we're doing. Eventually we're going to sell all 8 or 10 properties, and that's going to be most of our retirement.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking, like, that's a great way to do it. So I started looking more into like the real estate world and talking to my dad because he had his real estate license at that time. He helped us buy our first house and everything.
Okay.
But then I
What do you mean by helping? Like he helped? He was your agent?
He was our agent. Yeah,
Nice.
This was before I was licensed.
That's pretty nice to have your dad helping you. I mean,
Well, yeah, it says coming from you.
well, yeah, because you got all these questions, and you're a very inquisitive kind of guy. That's like, I'm gonna ask the questions, but some people might feel kind of like, I don't know if I want to ask that because I might feel stupid. But you have your dad to ask, and that's even better.
Yeah, no, and he's never ever made me feel stupid about any question. He's actually like, I think he's one of the smartest real estate people that I know. Just because he's been doing it for like I think 6 or 7 years now, and he's been involved with several different people, several different types of transactions. So I go to him with a lot of questions, and then we also have coaches in town here and stuff. But going back to your question, how did I get into real estate?
Yep.
My parents, they kind of segued me, and my wife Ashley, she has a real estate license too.
Yep.
So we're a real estate team, AMG Homes here in Winona through Keller Williams. So my parents kind of got me into that, got us into that, and then just my curiosity and my love of housing, and I kind of have a dream to like flip houses. So that's why I'm tying the real estate into carpentry and kind of learning how all of that goes together to make money. So I've had my real estate license for a year and about a year and a half now. And we've done well. We've done pretty well.
Yeah, I remember you were telling me about when you were getting it. I think that was last basketball season. We were kind of discussing because you had just gotten into it. And so now I want to go back to, you said you're a business major. Yeah. Now, I didn't know that at all.
Shocker.
Well, because you do construction.
Yeah.
So now I don't even know what the question I want to ask is, how'd you
all
get
tie
into
together?
Well, how'd you get into construction?
Okay.
'Cause business and construction,
Yeah.
they go hand in hand, but you're hands-on with the construction. You're not like, oh, you go do that, you go do that, you go do that, and I'm going to take care of the bills here.
Yeah.
You're
no,
actually on the job site.
Yeah. So what's your question? Is it?
My question is, how did you go from business major to now I'm going to start
Sure.
construction?
Yeah. So 2016 is when I started at Winona State. And I went in as a nursing major.
Oh, even more shocking here.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're learning a lot.
Yes, I am.
So I went in as a nursing major, and the reason for that was because I think I had my CNA license. I worked in high school a little bit as a CNA, and my mom's mom was in healthcare. I have a cousin who's going to school to be a doctor, and we were always very healthcare conscious, healthcare minded, hospitality and like nursing and all that stuff, right? So that's kind of the direction that I wanted to go. Well, then I went to Winona State, and before I even started there, I said, I don't want to be a nurse. I want to be a doctor. I said, if I'm going to go into the medical field, I just want to go the whole way.
Yeah.
Let's just do the freaking sign me up for the program. I'm in it for the long haul. I don't know what I want to do yet, but let's just get started. So I switched to biology, and I was a biology allied health major for a year, and then I couldn't get past chemistry. Chemistry was tough.
That's a rough class. Even in high school, it's rough.
Organic chemistry kicked my ass.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is pretty complex. What other options am I interested in? Because at this point, you're 19 years old, and you're like, okay, maybe this isn't the direction.
Well, at least you were 19 when you figured it out.
Right. I mean, I went into college pretty much saying, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to figure it out while I'm there.
Yep.
So after my freshman year, I switched from allied health biology and the pre-med field. I just canceled all that. And I said, well, I'm just going to switch my major to business administration. And at that point, I had like a minor in finance and psychology, but I ended up dropping both of those. But I pretty much decided, like, I don't know what, I'm a business guy. I don't know what kind of business I'm going to take on, but I know that I want to learn how to do business.
Sure.
And just kind of use that as a blanket for whatever comes in the future.
Yep.
So I switched to business my sophomore year, and I ended up graduating with business administration right on time. And I dropped the finance minor, I dropped the psychology minor, and I just said, I just want to get out. Because 2020, it was COVID year, and it was my senior year, and I was like, I just want to get out.
So you were still in college when I first met you, huh?
Yeah, I was running the restaurant while I was in college.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good for you.
That was a lot of work. Yeah, it was like, school was from like 8 a.m. to 2, and then my shift was 2 to 10, and then the next day was the same thing. Well, and with food service, and this is all segueing into my final answer here, but with with weekends and with like the late nights and everything, you get burnt out in food service really quick.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're adding that to a full-time student education too. So I was a business major, and Mike Rivers, who's the owner of River City Grill, Green Mill at that time, he comes up to me and he says, hey, we're going through some management changes. The assistant left. The GM is leaving. Do you want to step up in some way? Could you step up in some way? I said, well, yeah, I'm a business major, and I'm looking for experience. I've got the people skills to run it, and I can handle this, and I took it on. So I started as the service manager at the restaurant, and then I moved into a GM role, and I was the GM there for 3 years while I was finishing up my bachelor's degree. But then when I graduated, it kind of all came full circle. I was like, okay, I switched. I'm a business major, not knowing what I wanted to do. I'm working full-time at this restaurant, but do I really love food service? Is that where I want to stay?
I would say no.
Anybody would say no, I think, unless you have a true passion for food or for hospitality, or if you're the owner operator, then you could stay in it. But in that role, it was just so much. It was like nights and weekends all the time, and you're on call 24/7, and that just wasn't a lifestyle that I thought I could have long term.
Sure.
So I said, okay, it's 2020. I just graduated. We're going through COVID, and this is where we flipped the restaurant from Green Mill to River City. So this was a really busy time period for me. Graduating, flipping the restaurant, handling all the pandemic stuff with food service, which, if you know anything about what happened, I mean, we went down from like having a full menu with steaks and salmon and all this shit. I remember. Now we're just offering takeout pizza and wings. I mean, we scrapped our inventory, scrapped our staff.
So you were there during this time.
I ran the whole thing. The owner
and
was
the transition,
everything. Yeah, the owner, Mike, made all the decisions, and me and my team, Michael and Derek and the kitchen managers at the time, we went from 60 employees down to like 14.
Sure.
When COVID hit. And so, yeah, we had to facilitate all that. So I was super busy. And at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't really want to do food service for long term, with all this shit,
Blame you for that one.
So I went online, and my wife and I talked about it a little bit. And I said, well, I don't know how to use my hands to do anything. I'm really good in the brain. I'm really good with the mouth. But I don't know how to use my hands to build anything. Or,
sure.
Like, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a builder. I don't know how to use my hands, just to write. That's all I know how to do. So I said, well, why don't I go back to school and learn how to use my hands?
Sure.
That was kind of my reason for going back to school. So then I met with John Powell, who was the instructor at the tech school at the time. And he sat me down, and we had a nice conversation about the construction technology program and everything that he had going there, and kind of what that could look like. And I said, you know what? Even if I don't end up doing construction full time, I want to know how to work on houses, how to cut a 2x4 straight, stuff like that. I wanted to go through that. So I actually graduated with my bachelor's degree, went back to trade school, and I did a 2-year program at the trade school for carpentry and construction technology, and had a great time. Passed with all A's, nice. Honors list every single semester, and had developed a great relationship with my professor, instructor John. And it got to a point where, because of COVID and because of the situation with like, I don't know what you say, like blue collar route, where they don't really care about COVID. And
sure, yep.
And then, with the heavy restrictions in the education system, where they're coming down on every little thing, mask up or you're going to get, sent out of school, all that stuff. He kind of went on his own, and he said, well, you and this one other student, you guys were kind of doing really good in the program. Why don't you guys come and work for me and continue your education and kind of do like an apprenticeship?
Sure.
So at that point, I took that offer. And so that kind of segued me into a construction career where I'm learning how, starting from the foundation all the way up to the roof, doing every single part of the project. He's a general contractor now out of Holman.
Okay.
And I'm actually repping his shirt.
Yeah, I saw that.
JD Powell
that.
Construction.
So he was an instructor at the tech college here.
Right.
Cool.
Yep.
My dad went to the tech college too through the accounting program.
Sure.
So I have ties with that, and we go to their golf tournament every single year. So now you work for him, is that correct?
Yep. I work directly for him, and I have been for 2.5 years.
Oh, 2.5 years. Okay.
2.5 years.
Wow.
Yep.
So now you have your real estate license. You have your what do you call it? Construction. I don't think it's a license.
I phrase it like this: I have a degree in construction technology.
Perfect.
There you go.
And what does that title mean? Like, what is construction technology? Is it just
you think about a building that was built in 1920 versus a building that's built today.
Sure.
What differences can you point out? It's like things like
block foundation.
Yeah, and the size of studs, the type of insulation used,
that's the stuff.
The engineering requirements for a load-bearing wall, or like, back in the day they would use like 2x4s or 2x6s for their joists.
Okay.
Well, over time that's going to sag. So little things like that. Now we use like 2x10s, 2x12s, something like that, or engineered trusses.
So just learning the new stuff basically is what technology is, and how to make things more efficiently.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with energy as well.
Okay.
Energy efficiency, talking about insulation and how sealed your house is, and the proper way to insulate where it's not going to let air through. Little things like that where anybody can come into your house and say, yeah, I'll put this together for you, but are they going to put it together for you right and in a way that's going to last 80 years? That's kind of the goal. So yeah, so that's kind of what we do and that's kind of what the degree's purpose is to know what things are supposed to look like, so I can hop onto a job site and be like, that's right, that's wrong, that's right, that's wrong. And then the hands-on part of it too, where I can put it together right and do things the right way.
Now that you're just talking, like the last 20 minutes we've been talking about this, it all makes sense now why you have your real estate license as well. Because now you can not only sell the houses, you can flip the houses like you said. That might be one of your goals to do, is buy a house, remodel it, sell it.
And I'll do all the work.
And you're going to do all the work and save a bunch of money.
Right.
So that does make sense now that you got out of the food industry, and I don't blame you. It is hot and cold. Hours kind of wonky. 2 to 10 sucks.
But I'll tell you, I still love the food industry.
Do you?
And that's why I still bartend, because it's still the food industry, drink industry, right? But it's still the hospitality, the customer service, the same camaraderie that comes with the bar atmosphere. I absolutely love it. That's why I stay bartending.
Now the bartending to me is it'd be more my thing too, rather than serving food, because you're in a bar and you have this whole certain little area. and you're able to talk to everyone. But when you're serving food, you're going from table here, table over there. You can't stop and really talk to them and get to know them. But you do get to know these people at the bar because they're ordering another drink. Most likely, everyone comes in, they're not having one. They're having
several,
2, 3, cutting them off, whatever it has to be.
Yeah.
But you get to stay in this area, and you get to go up and down the line. You can start a conversation and say, oh, hold on 1 second, I got to make a drink real quick. And then you come right back. Someone else wants one. You're not jumping from table to table. So, I guess I would enjoy bartending in the food industry more than anything else, I guess, in my mind.
You've got the personality for it. I think that you'd be a great bartender. Just spend 2 weeks with me. We'll learn some drinks. We'll pour some beers the right way, and I think you'd be really good at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I should probably get on the smart side of the bar, huh?
Yeah.
So the dumb side?
I always say, so Gina, she's the owner of the High and Low, and I always tell her, I don't mind coming here, especially if you're going to pay me to be here. Like I do these bar backing shifts where I'm the second guy. Like there's a main bartender, then I'm just kind of the backup.
So a bar back is the backup?
Yeah, right.
Oh, I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, so I'm basically stocking ice, filling beers, counting the till down if he needs it, sorting out tips and serving drinks if he needs it. But if he's good, like for example, last Saturday, I was on call for the bar back. I just sat there and had 5 beers totally covered because I was supposed to be there, but he didn't need my help.
Nice.
So I just sat there and drank for free and just hung out. If he needed a fire put out, I'll go put out the fire.
Sure.
And just make sure. We usually do that for like live bands.
And
live music when it gets crazy busy. Like last night, we probably had 80 people in the building.
Whoa, in that little building?
Yeah, coming and going between the patio too. I mean, we have a huge patio. Oh yeah, and it was 66 degrees out, so
nice day
everybody
yesterday.
was out in short shorts. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. If anybody's wondering, we're in Minnesota. It's March, and we're getting 60-degree weather.
Yeah,
we're out in shorts and we're having patios.
We're grilling out. We're barbecuing. We're going to the beach.
People in Florida are like, give me my parka here. I need that.
No.
So now going back to the real estate portion. How is that going for you? Are you enjoying that? Is it going hand in hand like you thought it would?
I think it's when you get your real estate license, it can be kind of wild when you start. You don't know if you're going to get $1 million listing right away, or if you're going to go 6 months and then you'll get $100,000 listing. You don't know where you're going to end up. We were fortunate enough. I got my license way before my wife did, and I was pretty much dry for the first 6 months, 7 months. I didn't have a single sale. I was working my ass off trying to get the sale, but didn't really have anything. She joined the team, and then in the fall, she had her license for probably 3 months, and then that fall things start to snowball. You get one, and then 1 turns into 3, and then 3 turns into 6 transactions. So we had a pretty good fall. We did okay, and we're kind of in it's like a roller coaster. There's highs and there's lows. We're kind of in a low right now, but I mean, we got stuff in the pipeline where it's going to pick back up. So.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I had 4 sales in January, and February was a little dry, and March is starting to pick up a little bit. But yeah, when I graduated real estate school, this was back in 2010, I believe, is when I got my license. So I've had my license, actively using it's been about 10 years. But I got it in college. I was just like, hey, I have winter break, I have summer break, might as well get the license too, because my dad's in it. Just a good backup to have. So I always kept up with it. But they said, first 6 months, figure no money.
Yeah.
And just like you said, about first 6 months, that was dry. Now, have you found it helpful having your wife with you?
Definitely.
Does she get out?
Definitely.
What does she also do? Does she do something else?
She works full-time here at Morgan's Jewelers here in town.
Yeah. You told me that.
So if you need a ring, if you're looking to get married, or if you're looking for a gift, go down to Morgan's Jewelers. They got great deals. They got great customer service, the best jeweler in the area.
Yeah, and they're local here, too. And I know their son. I know Jason.
Yep.
They're good people.
They're all town folk, and they do really well. They mean really well, and they run a good business. Morgan's Jewelers has been in town for over 100 years, and they still do a great job.
Well, yeah, your wife probably goes, so yeah, you got this ring. Now you're probably going to need a house.
Yep.
Here's the business card.
And guess what? You need some repairs done to your house? Call my husband.
Boom.
So it's kind of a nice setup.
Yeah.
It's kind of all in one.
Full circle.
But to go back to your question, does my wife help me with the real estate stuff? Absolutely. There's so many little details that go into every single real estate client. It's like every client is different, and you have to continue to lead generate, all the time. So I work full-time, she works full-time, and so together, after our full-time jobs, she takes a half of it, I take a half of it, and we make another full-time job out of it.
That's great. That's great to have. You guys sound like you are very, ambitious. That's what it sounds like. That's great.
Well, with student loans the way they are, I mean, you kind of have to be. $500 payments, you got to pay them off somehow. So
you told me a funny story just before we went live here earlier. You sold a house to someone, and now you're going to remodel the house for her.
Yeah.
So just like you said, you sold them the house, and now you're going to...
I want to add to it. She is a client at the bar that I work at, and that's how I met her. So it all comes full circle.
Well, pretty soon, she's going to... Is she married? Does she need a ring?
TBD. I don't know.
To be determined.
Yeah.
And then if she has a child, you can possibly use your previous nursing experience, deliver the child,
well,
take them to the house.
That's a little far. I don't want to be delivering no kids for nobody. That's not my forte at all.
Well, it sounds like you guys have a great thing going on where you and your wife work hand in hand with each other. Yeah. So how long have you been married for then?
We got married October 8th, 2022. So it's been about a year and a half. I got my license right around the same time, my real estate license, right around the same time that we got married.
Sure.
So that kind of goes hand in hand. She joined me 6 months later with that. So
is she from the area?
No, she's from Mankato area.
Oh, okay.
Her hometown is Sleepy Eye, and she came over here kind of for me, kind of for school in 2018, and that's when we met.
Sure. Well, I mean, sounds like a great thing going on. Next thing I want to transition into is you and me play basketball.
Yeah.
And you were talking about sports. Like if I go to a bar, you can give me a smoky bar, $1.75 Busch Lights probably.
Yeah.
Put some sports on.
Yep.
I mean, is sports another big part of your life, or?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Always been.
Is basketball your love, or do you have a different sport and you're just good at basketball?
From like 4th grade to 8th grade, it was baseball. Baseball 100%.
Baseball
100%.
Right.
Then in 8th grade, my parents came to me and they said, hey, this year, if you, let's see, I got to remember this right. I think in 8th grade, my parents came to me and they said, you need to decide, no, in 4th grade, my parents came to me and they said, you need to decide if you want to play traveling baseball or if you want to play traveling basketball.
Sure.
Because they're expensive and you got to pick which one you kind of want to specialize in or go for. So I chose baseball because at that point in time, I loved baseball.
Yep.
Plus my build, I'm not really built like a basketball player. I'm tall, but I'm stocky. You know, I'm more of a football, hockey build. So in 8th grade, I got the opportunity to play traveling basketball again, and I played traveling basketball with a lot of my high school best friends, and it was great. And then pretty much from then on, it was all basketball for me. Basketball has been my favorite sport, will continue to be my favorite sport. I wasn't always the best at it. Like in high school, I played a total of 12 minutes my senior year.
Sure.
I mean, I was really like the hype guy on the bench, and they loved that. But basketball has always been my passion. I'm a huge Timberwolves fan, and throughout college, I didn't play college basketball or anything like that, but throughout college, I played like rec basketball, city league basketball, and we still play to this day. So, yeah, basketball is my number one, but I also played football and baseball in high school.
Well, how about those Timberwolves this year?
They're great.
Dude,
they're doing great.
I am so pumped for the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're making Minnesota have some hope for championship. You haven't missed a game?
No, I've watched every single game.
Good.
I actually fixed my schedule around the Timberwolves schedule. So if the Timberwolves play that night, no client meetings. I'm at home on the couch.
Dude, so. I've never heard anybody that dedicated to the Timberwolves before.
Pretty much. My dad's the same way. If you talk to my dad, and my mom backs this up, my dad pretty much books his schedule around the Timberwolves games. So
really?
Yeah.
So did your love of basketball come from your dad maybe?
Probably.
Yeah. See, my dad was not big into... He's baseball. Sure. He'll still listen to the Twins on the AM radio.
Sure.
So if he ever drives one of these cars back here and it's got the AM radio on, I already know who drove it last.
Right.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
It's on 1230 KWNO. And yep, that's where the Twins are still on. I'm like, you could probably watch this on your phone, right?
Yeah.
It'd be a lot better, but that's so funny. And some of you might notice if you're watching, all these hoods are kind of popped up. Well, as we talked about, we're getting beautiful weather right now, and we're getting these cars ready to go, charging up the batteries, making sure they're ready to go so we can zip them out of here someday. But, yeah, so basketball has been amazing. I love basketball. I don't know what it was with basketball for me. I think it was the culture. I was always into, like, the hip-hop culture. Still am.
Sure.
Maybe not as much as I was, but, I just talked a couple weeks ago on the podcast with a guy about sports cards in general. And I look back at my basketball ones. I'm looking at these Jordans. And I'm like, this reminds me of when I was little. I love this feeling. Yeah. And it was so much fun. But I always love the atmosphere around his hip-hoppy, alternative kind of. And I even till this day, when the All-Star weekend comes around, I'm like, dunk contest. I am watching the dunk contest. Sure. And none of my other buddies are like, basketball, that was cool back in the 90s when Jordan was there. I'm like, yeah, but still cool. I mean, I don't know. You got every year, every decade or every generation, you have a generational player. You have LeBron, and he's still here. And then Steph Curry is still here too. But now we have our Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I didn't realize how special of a player he was because I believe his rookie year was that COVID year, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so he didn't really understand.
He was kind of quiet at first.
Yeah.
I even, when he first was drafted, one of my high school buddies was like super hyped up about it. He's like, dude, we got Anthony Edwards. It's going to be great. And I was looking at his like college stats and kind of his resume, if you will. And I was like, he seems kind of just a blanket player. Like he kind of does everything okay.
Yep.
But now, and I had my doubts. I was like, I don't think he's going to pan out. I don't think he's going to probably be one of those number 1 overall picks who like goes and just kind of like, it kind of was a bust. But it's been the opposite.
Especially when you go to the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
You never know what the heck you're going to get, dude.
Yeah, no, they'd probably trade him. But
don't say that.
No, I mean, at that point in time, I said, well, you'll probably like burn out and then they'll trade him. This kind of was my thinking.
And then you'll get a championship somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like it always happens.
Being Minnesota fans, we don't get championships. We just get disappointment.
Dude, I don't know. I've been watching them like you have, but you more religiously. I don't see them going into a series and dropping multiple games in a row losses.
No,
I just don't see that.
It starts with him, with Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
There's a level of confidence that he has that is like Kobe-esque, MJ-esque, LeBron-esque, where he's just like, I know I'm the best player on the floor. I know that I can make these shots. I'm going to be the guy taking the shots, and I know I'm going to make the shots. And that his level of confidence is what's really running this team.
You know what else I like about him, just watching the highlights and stuff? He's not like cocky in your face. He is like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to play, and I'm going to be humble-ish, at least from what I can tell. He looks a pretty humble guy.
Yeah.
And I love that.
He'll puff his chest out when he dunks on you.
Yeah.
He'll be like, I just dunked on you, but that's how good I am. It's nothing against you. That's kind of the vibe I get. It's nothing against you. It's just I'm that good.
Yeah, and he's building everyone up around him like Big Cat. Yeah. I mean, when you start building around, and this is what I was mad about when Kevin Garnett was there, they never really built around him. It was like, we tried here. We threw a Stephon Marbury at you. We threw a Latrell Sprewell at you.
Sure.
But that was about it. I mean, they didn't really
remember, this is when I was like 3 and 4 years old. I was born in '98. So I'm KG. I love KG, but I have like my first memories were watching him.
Celtics.
So it's like,
shoot. Okay. So back in 2004 was the furthest we ever went, by the way. So you're 6 years old at this point. Yeah. You're a kindergarten. You're barely potty trained.
Yeah.
And the Timberwolves are going against the Lakers in the Western Conference Final. That's the most that we have for the Timberwolves. But this year, they're going to the finals. They have to.
I'm knocking on wood.
This is real wood, so we can knock on that.
Yeah.
I certainly hope so because I've been having a blast watching them.
Me too.
And, again, like some of my friends, they're not big into basketball. Like, it's cool in the 90s. But I'm like, man, you need to watch Anthony Edwards and those guys. They're a young squad. And it's like they were organic. They weren't bought. So it wasn't like, we're going to go out and buy our big three, as they say,
Right.
No,
like
it was like organic. We drafted Cat. Yeah. We drafted Edwards. The only person they went out and got was Rudy Gobert. And, I mean, he's good, but...
And Conley. But you start with that base. You start with the base of like, okay, we drafted Cat, we drafted Naz Reid, or like we signed him before he was even a thing.
Yeah.
We've grown him with the culture. But now you look at those people, you say, what are we missing?
Sure.
And then you plug in, okay, we need another big guy. Let's get Rudy Gobert. We need a facilitator, a point guard, so let's get Mike Conley.
Yep.
And then pretty much all the pieces kind of start to work together. And last year when they had Gobert and Conley, it was kind of a shit show at some points. It was like kind of inconsistent. And when they their first month playing together, they didn't have an off season to get accustomed to each other. So they just kind of showed up the first of the season, and that was the start. So it was rough. But coming into the second year, they had time in the off season to play together, and they've built that chemistry up phenomenally. And so, yeah, now they're a true, I think, contender in the West for sure.
I think so too, because they're either first or second. I didn't look at the stats today or the standings, but I think they're either first or second right now. Because I think the other team was either the Clippers or Oklahoma City.
It's Oklahoma City.
Is it now? Okay.
Oklahoma City, and then the Wolves, and then the Clippers.
Okay.
The Timberwolves have had the Clippers number, I think, most of the season. Like I think they lost.
Yeah, they just blew them. Well, they blew them out, but came back from 22 points.
22 down. They won by 18. Yeah. Think about if you were in the middle of a game and it's late in the second quarter and you're down by 22. What's going on in your head? Most guys would be like, shit, this kind of sucks. Like, tag me out. Let's just save it for next night, tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But going back to like the confidence and that mindset, Anthony Edwards just kind of was like, we're down by 22. That's all right. We'll just keep pushing. We can do a 22-0 run easy. Well,
in basketball is so streaky.
Yeah.
It's once you get the momentum
especially
going.
With 4 quarters.
That too.
Yeah,
it's better than I like the 4-quarter aspect better than the 2 halves like college does. I don't like that.
No, me neither.
So I was what the heck was I going to say? I had something I wanted to touch on. Can't remember. It was something along with basketball too. Well, I don't know what it was.
Well, that's all right.
But yeah. So we are looking forward. Oh, I know what it was. It was. Here's what I want to happen. I want the Timberwolves to at least go to the finals, because then at least it puts Minnesota Timberwolves on the map where people might want to come play.
Sure.
Because if you remember, the Warriors sucked for many years.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they win a championship, and they were like a dynasty.
And they're another good example of homegrown talent. Like they drafted Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson came up with them. Draymond Green came up with them.
Yeah, we passed on Steph Curry.
Yeah, right.
For Johnny Flynn and Rubio.
Right. Yeah, Rubio. Crazy.
That was a trivia
I forget
question.
that they were in the same draft.
That was a trivia question 2 nights ago at Island City. That's how I know that.
Weird. I remember when they drafted Rubio, but I had no idea that Steph Curry was before him.
It was the 09, 08 class, I think it was.
Wow.
Yep.
Because I remember being super excited for Ricky Rubio, and they said he can't play until following year because he's playing in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like a one extra year he needs, but whatever. That's crazy. I didn't even realize that they were in the same draft class.
And then the other thing I wanted to touch on was this would be my dream finals. I want it to be Timberwolves versus the Bucks, because it can happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like the Twins versus the Brewers could happen.
It's weird that split is like right on the river, pretty much.
How great would that? I mean, 2 small market teams, not going to be that exciting for most, but for us, it'd be like cross river rivals. It's just, I mean, we've never really had a rival with the Brewers ever, with Minnesota Twins. Same with the Bucks and the Timberwolves have usually.
Obviously, there's a Vikings-Packers thing.
Yeah, but they're in the same conference, so they could never. The most they could ever possibly do is maybe the NFC Championship.
And that'd be if
that's a tough one too.
Somebody would have to win the division, and then somebody would also have to be pretty much like a wild card building their way up or something like that.
But the finals, that'd be so. In my mind, that would be really cool. Timberwolves, Bucks. That'd be just kind of neat. 2 small market teams going at it.
Oh man, everybody in our area would just be.
We'd be going nuts.
It'd be a party around here. You know?
So 48 other states would not be tuning in.
It'd be the lowest viewed finals ever. But in this region, it'd be a party up and down the river the whole way.
But actually, it might not be because of Giannis and Anthony Edwards. It might actually be something that people would tune in for.
Sure, the new face of the NBA.
The new face, yeah, because that's what I've been reading. He's got that Jordan-esque Kobe quality that you were talking about. So he might be that next face of the NBA. Let's not ruin that, Minnesota. Let's keep him.
Yeah, for real.
Okay. Don't go through these rebuilding phases, because we've been rebuilding every team since the start of the team.
It's been a continual rebuild. Yes. We're still rebuilding. It's just like, now we're contending, but let's not continue to rebuild.
The Vikings rebuilding since 1961.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much.
Well, do you have anything else you want to add to the cast, man? This has been fun. This is the first morning podcast I've had, and we are having old fashions in the morning.
At 10 in the morning.
I love it.
Was it good?
I love it. Yeah, dude, this is so good. This is better than having a beer in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. This tastes more like breakfast.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you did a hell of a job with this. I wish I would have gotten the oranges and all that, but
that's all right, man. It's all right. They just add a little more. You have to come to the high and low, and then I'll make you a real one with the oranges and the sugar and everything, and you'll get the whole 9 yards.
Damn. Yeah, we were supposed to come there the other night, and something else popped up. We couldn't make it because you're like, hey, come on down with your wife and your parents if you want.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember what happened. Something happened. We were getting ready for a vacation. I remember that, but other than that, but yeah, I want to thank you for coming on, making our first drink on the podcast, guys. Old Fashions, Bullet Bourbon. That is a good bourbon. I like it on the rocks, but it's great in here. I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, it's one of my favorites. Like I say, I fell in love with it when I was at Green Mill because I would have to go around and do inventory every single Monday at 6:30. I would wake up, go count every single bottle, how much we have, and you take some samples here and there. You're like, okay, I've never had this one. What does this one taste like? And I fell in love with Bullet. So, and the Bullet Rye is even better. So.
Nice. Well, let's cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you, Alex, for coming on.
You're welcome.
For those who are out there, please consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, following on the Apple Podcast, on Spotify. I am now on iHeartRadio. So please consider listening, downloading, leaving a comment, leaving a positive review. I would appreciate that. Until next week, cheers.
Cheers.